Good afternoon. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the panel this afternoon. To my left is Ms. Lynn Nesbitt, and to my far left is Mr. Richard Whitbread. The assessor this afternoon is Mr. Matthew Baracus, and our recording secretary is Ms. Katie Sutherland. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing-in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony, followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record, and may I please ask everyone to turn off their cell phones. The first matter on the docket this afternoon is 730 Alexander Avenue.
You guys find it hot in here? No? Okay. That's good. You affirm, right?
Yep.
Okay. So please state your name.
Matthew Baracus.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name.
Jared Story.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Right. Yeah.
Please proceed when you're ready.
Okay. File number 19-2553, roll number 13080507000, 730 Alexander Avenue, found at the corner of Alexander and Lulu. One building, 2 stories, actual year built 1921, effective year built 1960. In terms of the effective year built, I checked the notes. I'm not getting anything in terms of a recent inspection, so that effective year must have been applied some time ago. I don't have any recent notes. Number of streets, 6, 2 outdoor parking spots, construction class D, wood or exterior, framed exterior walls. Page 2 shows the request for income information. Good, handling by mailers. This property is owned by WHRC, so it's a not-for-profit. So market rents were used. On page 3, you'll see our model parameters. We've got 3 2-bedroom, 3 3-bedroom for 6 total units. Average monthly rent, as per the model, $799.71. I believe we're identical in terms of rent, so I'm not going to dwell on the rental aspect. 3% model vacancy rate, expense ratio, model 58%, with the model cap as per age, area, and size. It's a 5.1 for an estimated market value of $457,000. Last time at the Board of Revision, it was at $443,000, and it was reduced to $388,000, and they used a 6% cap rate. Rent comparables are on page 4. Also shows the CMHC average rents for the area. So average rent $1,038. We've got this one at $799. We've got it marked down in the model to try and reflect that it is a not-for-profit. So because we are agreeing in terms of the effective gross income, I'm not going to dwell on the rent comparables so much. 4A is just the tables from CMHC. Page 4B is our typical capitalization rate evidence chart that you are familiar with. So I think at this stage we've all heard it many times. These are just an example of actual sales that took place during the reference period, not to be property specific, just to show how our models align with what's going on and transacting out there. Page 5 shows a cap rate chart, and then page 7 shows the income and expense mailer. You see they are subsidized. We went with the market on this one. Again, capitalization rate and parameters. Income and expenses are modeled. That's my understanding.
Thank you very much. Mr. Story, do you have questions?
Yes, and I also have I have my rebuttal to the assessor's cap rate info for all of it. It's here to be entered. Okay, now this is the corner of Alexander and Lulu Street, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Have you visited this property?
No, I have not.
Are you aware of the original purpose of this building?
No.
So you're not aware that it was built as a mission?
No.
Okay. It was built as a mission in 1921. You've mentioned that in the last cycle, the assessment was $388,000?
It was reduced to $388, yes.
Okay. So the city's now suggesting that an 18%, that it's appreciated by 18% since the last cycle?
Well, we were at 443, and the board cut it.
Okay. So that's where that comes from. That's fine. No sales for the subject property, is that correct? On your page 2?
Yeah, no recent sales.
No recent sales. So it would have changed hands at some point from going from being a mission to social housing, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. And it is social housing.
Yes.
Okay, and so you're aware then that social housing assets that are owned by Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corps are under a limited dividend agreement?
I've never reviewed that agreement.
Okay. But in general, you're aware that social housing with mortgages that are underwritten by the CMHC are under a limited dividend agreement, typically for a period of 35 to 45 years. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Now, your income value summary, this is all model, would you assume?
Yes.
Okay, and so for that cap rate, 5.1%. Did you say this is a desirable neighborhood?
No.
Okay. So 5.1% seems low. So was any adjustment made for location?
No.
And for the fact that it's social housing?
No.
And for the fact that it's a conversion, so it used to be admission and now it's housing?
No.
No adjustments? All models? Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Now you've included the CMHC stats, but this doesn't include anything about social housing, does it?
No, and to be honest, some like these rents could be higher because this also does encompass some of those loft apartments in the Exchange District as well. That's why we're way below.
Right, because we're talking West Alexander.
Yeah, it's
right?
different.
And you're aware that this area of West Alexander is almost on the borderline of CPR Logan, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And CPR Logan gets a premium from the city's modeling.
On the other side, yeah, Market Region 4 gets a premium.
Right, but we'll get to that, but that's like Henry Avenue, for example, would have a premium.
On the other side of the tracks.
No, on our side, on this side of the tracks, on the Alexander side of the tracks. So if you go across Logan,
I'll have to check the map, but I thought it was the other side of the track.
it's, so I noticed this because I did one on Henry. So here's West Alexander. We're right here.
Okay, no, I'm talking about our model regions, not the CMHC regions. Is that the CMHC region
These
map?
are your regions. This is from the city.
Oh, those are our regions?
Yeah,
Where are you finding this now?
from the City of Winnipeg website.
Oh,
Oh.
we don't have that evidence in front of
No, it's in my,
Yep.
I have it in my brief. I'm just pointing out that we're
Ms.
very.
Nesbitt just asked you where.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I beg the source.
Yes,
It's
so
in my-
what
it's in my brief.
page is that on? So we-
I'd like to look at it
Yeah.
since you're pointing to it.
Sorry about that. It is the first page of my appendices, so that would be page 11.
Thank you.
There you go. So the city applies a cap rate adjustment once we cross this border of Logan CPR. This is the rail line. So this would be
The very top is the rail line?
beyond
The top line?
Yeah, that would be the rail line. But that area that's called Logan CPR has an adjustment to the cap rate. Now, we're in West Alexander, point being that there's an adjustment upwards for the cap rate in Logan CPR. Would care appropriate that West Alexander would have the same treatment for purpose of equity. Okay. Now, we've argued about the cap rates a number of times, and you're aware that 3 of the 4 of these were purchased with the intention to renovate, and we're disputing that. We're also disputing the...
Wait, keep in mind you're still on questions.
Right,
Yes. So is there a question coming out of this? Because you'll have a
Right,
chance to give
right.
evidence soon.
Okay. So you're aware that 3 of your 4, the first 3 of your cap rate inputs here were purchased with the intention to renovate.
I know you guys have submitted some rebuttal in that regard.
But you wouldn't say that any of these inputs are actually similar to our subject today?
Oh, yeah, it's not property specific.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, if we look at the broker studies, would you consider this an investment grade property?
An investment grade property.
Yeah.
Can you maybe define that for me before I answer that?
It would be a property that would be looked at by institutional investors, and that would be captured by any of the third-party brokerages, such as Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman. You've included their cap rate tables. I'm suggesting that they're investment grade. Would you not agree?
Sorry, can you say that part again?
Would you not agree that the cap rate tables derived for Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman include only investment grade properties?
Industry standard market reports and external property appraisal. That is it.
Now, suggesting that this is not an investment grade property. If the brokers were to call this a low-rise B, it would carry a cap rate that's higher than what your model has derived. Does that not seem out of sorts with the market?
I mean, again, the cap rates are applied based on age, area, and size to this property.
Fair enough. And last question, the actual year built is 21, effective year is 1960. Any idea what's giving rise to that?
No, I tried to look into that, but in my presentation, I admitted that I didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
We've heard evidence in the past that when you look at cap rates, there's a threshold, a year threshold.
Yeah.
73, for example, is a threshold. 46 and below. Can you share that table of threshold dates with us and the cap rates applied typically?
Okay, so for this property here, we've got, what's house, how big is this? 8,000. Okay, so for this size of property, 8,000 to 15,000, we've got 45 and earlier. She has 6.4. We've got 46 to 59. which gets 5.1. We've got 1960 to 1974, which also gets 5.1. We've got 1975 to 1997, which gets 4.7. And then we get 98 and later for this size of property gets a 4.5.
What was pre-1945?
For 8,000 square feet to 14,999, pre-1945 gets a 6.4 cap.
And does the model automatically pick that out of a database of information, or does that have to be manually assigned?
It's assigned by the model.
So the model
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I visualize that is there's a table based on size and year built, and that would include effective year built?
It would go to effective year build, yes.
Right. And then it plucks that and boom, it assigns it. Do you have the ability to override that if a building is in poor condition, poor location?
Yeah, if something is, say, in very poor condition. We have another property later in this docket where there's been an override applied to it because of its condition. We've inspected it. It's been to the municipal board a couple times. So, yeah, we have the ability to override parameters.
But you would actually have to go and inspect the building, know what it was like inside and out.
Yeah.
In order to do that.
Yeah.
And you didn't do that on this.
I wasn't able to get out to check out any of these properties.
Do you know when it was inspected last?
I don't have any notes.
Nothing.
The past 10 years.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Nisbet?
I do. So you gave us some breakdowns for cap rates, and you said based on size, a building of this size, and then you gave the year breakdowns, right?
Yes.
So the size, 8,000 to 15,000 square feet, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
and-
that's one of the groups, the 3 size groups.
And is that based on the gross floor area?
Yes, it is.
So those are the cap rate. It made this grouping by 41 square feet.
That's it.
Okay. If it was 7,990 square feet, would that change those groupings? Would it change those cap rates?
Yes.
And what does it change those to?
For this 1960, it would go from 5.1 to 4.8.
So smaller, the cap rate would also go down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this also made it by 1 year, also in the same grouping, right? 1946, 1959, 1960, 1974, although there's no difference
There's
in the
no
cap rate.
difference. There's no difference between those groups for any size or market region. So
Okay.
we've had that broken up before, but we don't have a difference in cap.
Okay. All right. But do you know the condition of the property?
I haven't inspected the property. We have it below average condition in the months because we know it is social housing.
Mm-hmm.
So they typically, their condition is, they're not as, there might be a little more beat. So we recognize that giving it a higher, with lower quality, it would give it a higher expense ratio. And also lower the rent a bit.
Okay.
So we're trying to recognize that.
That lower
income
quality,
expenses.
okay.
Yeah.
Is 58% in terms of expense ratio, like I'm kind of trying to be careful with the words, so I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. A reasonable, what is the norm for a non-social housing?
Oh, I mean,
property? What would be considered reasonable for a good quality, it's kind of well run, it's, not a problem?
Well, I'd say, 58% is getting up there, for sure. For newer buildings, we see it low 40s. Right after they get built, high 30s, but there's a little bit of an expense holiday.
What about one for this age?
Well, looking at the effective age, yeah, probably right around 58%.
For non-social housing?
Yeah, looking at just the applicants, and I think we're within $3,000 on the expenses, so we're pretty close in that regard.
Okay, thanks.
And I have no questions, so Mr. Story, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have an asset of the Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Court, 730 Alexander Avenue. We established this in the West Alexander neighborhood. The building was built in 1921. The city has applied an effective age variance of 1960, but we can't find any reason to believe that that's appropriate. This building is true to its vintage, built in 1921. The original purpose was built as McLean Mission, and again it's at the corner of Lulu and Alexander. We have 3 2-bedroom suites and 3 3-bedroom suites. The city is saying that there are 2 outdoor parking spots. This building has no outdoor parking whatsoever. So the city is suggesting an assessment of $457,000, and we are requesting a value of $310,000. Okay. All right. Now, and again, I've mentioned that this is a sort of an interesting assignment based on modeling, because if it's greatly pointed out, if it were 42 feet smaller, it would fall into a different group, and if there were no parking, that would probably affect the model as well. And if we change the effective year to 1921, I would suggest that the cap rate would change, or some part of those inputs would change on the city's perspective. So for the purpose of this report, we're disputing the assessor's cap rate of 5.1%. We're instead using a cap rate of 6.5%. And that's based on the fact that assets of this vintage, so pre-1946, we use a baseline based on our study of 6.25% to 6.6%. And we're also capturing that this is social housing. Now, we could go as high as 7.1% based on the quality of this asset, but at that point we'd begin a discussion about highest and best use and land value. So in order to determine the value of the income in place, we've capped the cap rate at 6.5%, which is appropriate but admittedly conservative. So based on the fact that this is social housing, we accept the model's potential gross market rents. So the assessor and I are the same. We're even the same until we get to the effective gross income. This owner doesn't pick up any extra revenue by way of laundry, parking, or miscellaneous income. But when we apply our actual expenses, we come to the ratio of 64%. It's based on actuals, whereas the city is modeling 58.2%. Our repairs and maintenance, questions about that, are stabilized at $1,661 per suite, which would be on the high side generally for an apartment, maybe not one for this vintage, but falls within the what I'll call an acceptable range for social housing assets. So in terms of net operating income, we are at $20,089. The city's at $23,329. And the point of contention here is that we're using a 6.5 cap and the city's at 5.1. When we capitalize our NOI with a 6.5% cap rate, we end up with an indicated market value of $309,060. So we respectfully submit that this assessment ought not to exceed $309,000 for the 2020 assessment cycle. Got some photos here. There's it's the first thing you notice is the first page of my appendices. The original nameplate from the McLean Mission. As I've gone through this area, I can tell you that it's an objectively, let's call it a depressed area. No parking, and the building appears to be in what we'll call below average condition. So again, we request that this board amends this assessment $309,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, on your breakdown table
Yeah.
here, so we're the same on income, and
Yeah.
we're pretty close in expenses. There's just one line 27 that stands out to me. The year ending March 31st, 2017, they have 17,000 worth of repair and maintenance, which is a lot more than the other years, but it was included in the average. Might it be more appropriate to average the other years and exclude that year?
Well, I think what tends to happen in these areas and with assets of this vintage, I think we sometimes defer some maintenance, and so you might see a larger expenditure than previous years. I think it would probably be inappropriate to say that it's $6,000 per year. So if you look at what our general expenditures are, yeah, we had 17,000 in 1 year, but what we'll call the new normal, March 31 of 18 is 10,900. We've used 9,900, indicating a $1,600 per suite R&M rate. That seems reasonable.
Are you aware of anything they did that 17,495 year? Any sort of just the nature of the repairs at all?
No, but I can tell you in neighborhoods like this could be fixing old windows, this could be removing graffiti. I don't know, but it's not. That's 7,000, not even, it's 6,000 more than the next year. So it would appear that the previous years are low. So I would be guessing, but I would suggest that that's probably deferred maintenance. That was addressed in 17. Clearly 6,400 is too low. 7,300 is too low. 7,600 is too low. So that would jump out to me as deferred maintenance that was captured. And then I think the 10.9 is stabilized. So at $10,000, again, 1,600 per suite. That seems completely reasonable.
Have you inspected this property?
I've not been inside, but I've done a neighborhood inspection, and I've driven past it. I've seen the exterior.
And then just in regards to the cap rate, we've heard this a lot already. I have some rebuttal here just to submit along with his rebuttal, but I won't go over it because you've already heard both our sides. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
Excuse me. So you did not inspect the interior.
No, I've not been in the interior.
Do you have any information that would tell us how it moved from 1921 effective to 1960?
I don't agree with it. I couldn't see any permitted work that would have affected the structure of the building, the foundation. So, no, I think that this building is from 1921. I don't agree with the H variance at all.
Do you have any information in relation to the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, structure?
No, but there was no permitted work that we saw. So we can go and see any kind of permitted work, and there was nothing there. So
How far back did you go?
how far back is I think, Matt, how far back is the city's permitting system? Go to 04, maybe?
For notes, I can go to 04, but we've got, if you really dig into the PP&D stuff, we get like all the complaints and other, like there's a mattress behind the building or something going on. But typically the big work orders, that's in our system, and that goes back to about 04.
Yeah.
I don't have any notes in regards to that.
Yeah.
Do you know when it converted from mission to apartment?
It was in the 1960s, I believe. I believe so, but I would be guessing. Maybe it was later. It may have been, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I had a history of it, but I didn't include it. It was a huge thing from the historical
So
society.
it would be very useful to us, wouldn't it, if you had inspected the building and you had photos of the interior,
Sure.
so we could understand. I mean, you're making a premise that it's 1921. The city is saying 1960. No one can confirm through inspection.
Right. That's
So
true.
it's really hard to know where to go with this effective age,
Okay.
and then effectively your cap rates.
Just in general, we don't tend to go into apartments, into suites.
Oh.
somebody's home, so we don't tend to do that. If we have photos, it's usually from marketing material.
Yeah.
Social housing doesn't get marketed, so we don't, or generally, sometimes Agent Opportunity will have a file. I had one this morning where I had photos, but
This board has certainly seen many photos of the interior of buildings.
right.
And so you don't think it would behoove you to find a way to get photos for us to better able to make a decision?
No, I think it would be more illustrative, yes.
It sure
I
would.
agree with you, yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
Yes. You pointed us to this blue map in your appendix and suggested that its proximity to, I think you suggested, that its proximity to Logan CPR would warrant a cap rate adjustment, I think is what you were saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the city, it's, where that boundary is almost arbitrary. I don't think there's a material difference between Lulu and Alexander and, say, Henry Avenue. I think that most people in the city would see that as the same, generally, quality-wise.
Does your 6.5 cap reflect a cap rate adjustment for?
No, again, that's an interesting point. If we ran a scenario where there was, say, a 7% cap, we'd end up below land value. So we'd be talking about highest and best use. We wouldn't be talking about the income stream anymore. We're talking about asking for an assessment of $308,000, right? So that becomes a land only minus demolition cost argument. If we were to, I would understand if somebody applied a 7.1 cap to this and subtracted demolition costs off of it. That would be appropriate to me. That would be a 6.6, 5% for social housing, which encompasses the area. But then you'd end up with something, less than $250,000, and that's land. So, in order to maintain a value of the, or to assess the value of the theoretical income in place, because there is no economic profit or income, we capped it at 6.5.
So you've requested 309?
Yeah.
Just on your front
I know
page, it
it's
says
310.
310.
Yeah, it's
but
around here. Yeah. No.
Whatever, that's okay. So that's significantly below its 2018. Why are you thinking this has lost $80,000 in value?
I would say that I don't necessarily believe that the value in the previous cycle is correct. And I would say that this asset is certainly not appreciating. It's
But you think
depreciating.
It's depreciated
Absolutely.
to that extent, a third almost?
Again, if I believe that was the
Was
appropriate
it
value,
appealed to the municipal board?
I believe so. I wasn't with Burton last cycle, so I don't know. But I would suggest that it's not appreciating in value.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. You have your rebuttal evidence?
I'm just gonna,
Because we have to, yes. Okay.
I'm gonna hand it.
Yes, good, we should get that. Is yours, is yours in addition, or is this,
Mine is right there. See,
okay, because we have your cap rate study for
right, this is
apartments.
the rebuttal to the assessor's.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Yeah. I didn't earlier.
I'm just going to see who's in the exit that you can.
Can you, Mr. Suri has. Thank you. Okay, did either party want to speak to it?
I think you probably understand our positions at this point.
Okay, Ms. Nesbitt, Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions
No, I-
regarding the rebuttal evidence?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. then we can move on to the next matter, which is 970 Sherbrooke Street.
File number 19-2318, roll number 13082252700, 970 Sherbrooke, location corner of Logan and Sherbrooke. This one assessed value $3,809,000. Last time at the Board of Revision, it was assessed at $4,184,000, and it was reduced to $3,062,000, and they used a 6.25 cap on it. Actual year built 1988, effective year built the same, 38 suites, 11 outdoor parking spots, the construction class C, masonry and walls. Owner, again, WHRC. So just use the model on this one because that's good to income. It's not run on a for-profit basis. So page 2, doing good handling of their mailers. Page 3 shows our model parameters. There's 22 2-bedrooms, there's 16 3-bedrooms, and 38 full units. $966.70 per unit. Model vacancy expense ratio and capped at 5 as per age, area, size. Get our value of $3,809,000. We're pretty close in regards to net operating income. On this one, we're within $4,000 on a net operating income of approximately $190,000. So it's predominantly a cap rate issue with this property. So we have our income comparables taken from the area because we're similar in regards to net operating income. I'm not going to dwell on it. Below it is the CMHC table that you're familiar with. I did do a little bit of a look in regards to page 5, just in regards to what they're reporting expenses wise, and when you remove some of the factors here, comes out to $232,875. Almost exactly the same as the applicants in terms of expenses. Our model expenses are pretty close. Again, we're very close in regards to net operating income, so it's predominantly a cap rate issue. From pages 8A to 17, that is just the rent roll and income and expense statement. Then the last page, page 18, shows the property, a couple pictures there just taken off of the computer in regards to no recent inspections on this property either. So again, predominantly cap rate issue, age, area, size, model given 5%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Story, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Thank you. Okay, so this is Sherbrooke and Logan. Would you characterize that area as a primarily industrial area?
I haven't been down there in a while.
Okay.
Looking at your pictures, looks like there's some commercial around it.
Big, 2 big abandoned warehouses from
the
20s or something. Okay, so the actual year built is 1988, effective year is 88, so we're not, we're assuming that no significant permitted work has been done since 88, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Does this building have air conditioning?
I haven't inspected it.
believe it does. When you look at the photos of it, it's in the summer months, all the windows are always open. That's the first.
Yeah, I'm looking at your pictures, that's what you're saying. No, again, I don't know if they have air conditioning, like they're open the window too, because they're not paying for the hydro, but I've inspected it.
Fair enough. Average monthly rent, now that's modeled.
Yes,
Okay. The cap rate's modeled.
it's all modeled.
It's all modeled. And the market value per suite is over $100,000, is that correct? According to the model?
Yes.
Now, we are primarily arguing the cap rate, but I do have some questions on your rent comps. Did you choose these?
Yes, I did.
You did choose them?
Okay.
Are there any that are in the industrial area in these comps?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with 539 Bannatyne Avenue?
I haven't inspected any of these comparables.
Okay. But you're aware that building had a massive fire. They spent about $3 million to renovate it. Are you aware of that?
No.
It's also on the cover of a Guess Who record called So Long Bannatyne. Sort of
Oh, is it?
That's
Is that one?
It's a landmark, yeah. Jumped out at me. 647 Sherbrooke, that's social housing. So is that market or actual?
It shouldn't be in there.
Okay. 472 Balmoral, they're advertising at $815. Did you check that rent?
They're advertising?
Currently. Yeah, I looked it up. They're advertising suites at $815.
No, I don't. I'm not looking at current.
And then 980 William, that's a converted quadruplex with separate entrances in a converted home. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, you're suggesting that this building ought to carry a cap rate of 5%. Is that correct?
That's what the model decided.
Okay. Now, according to the city, now we have a difference of opinion about the cap rate, the going cap rate for Ward, but if the cap rate on Ward is 5%, doesn't it seem inappropriate that this one would have the same cap rate as a brand new building?
I think it's a different scenario. I wouldn't think that Ward would be applicable.
Okay, and again, this this is a shelter resource for Winnipeg Housing Renewal, so it's under a limited dividend agreement, correct?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, you're not familiar with that, but can we agree that social housing doesn't achieve any economic profit?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's not captured by the model.
No, we're looking at its value on like a for-profit basis.
On a for-profit basis, but and what a market value, so what a willing buyer and a willing purchaser would agree upon at the reference team, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think a willing purchaser would recognize the fact that this asset has always been used for social housing and has never achieved any economic profit and factor that into their cap rate when they're making their decision to purchase?
They might.
Okay, those are my questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whitworth.
No questions.
Ms. Nisbet?
Okay, so I don't mean to harp on this cap rate thing. But
Excuse
here
me,
we have a
sir.
1988, almost $46,000 property, or 46,000 square foot property at a cap rate of 5, and a slightly higher cap rate for a 1968,000 square foot property. It's 28 years newer. There's only a 0.1 difference in cap, but it's 5 times the size. So can you explain the cap rate? Like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
So, it looks like, looking at the chart, the bigger the property gets in the same age category, the cap rate ticks up. So this one is in the 15,000 square foot plus category. So
And the other one is not.
the other one is in 8,000 to 15,000.
Okay.
So 75 to 97, above 15,000 gets a 5% cap.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions, so Mr. Starry, please proceed with your presentation.
Sure. Okay, again, we have a social housing unit at 970 Sherbrooke Street. The asset was built in 1988. It is 5 stories tall. It has what we'll call a sort of atypical suite mix with 22 2-bedrooms and 16 3-bedrooms. The assessment department is suggesting an assessment of $3,809,000. And we are requesting today that that value be amended to $2,980,000. So we have some photos here to show you that we're in an older industrial area. And again, the open windows tend to indicate that we don't have air conditioning. So we're on the west side of Sherbrooke, southwest corner of Logan and Sherbrooke Street intersection. This is being used as a multiple family residential building, and the site size is 34,047 square feet, and once again, 38 units, 22 2-bedrooms and 16 3-bedrooms. Now, the assessment department is using a cap rate of 5%. We are suggesting that this is inappropriate, and based on our study, we are using a cap rate of 6.25%. That's based on a baseline of 5 3/4, given the vintage, and an adjustment of 50 basis points to capture the economic realities of the building that's being used for social housing. So the resulting market value as of April 1, 2018 is therefore $2,979,500, rounded to $2,980,000. Now, on my income workup, there's a note here. 63% of the building has no carpet, and 11% has partial carpet, and that's reflected in the rent. In the rent roll, you can see which ones have partial carpet, no carpet, and they pay a nominal increase if there's carpet in this week. So we're accepting, because it is social subsidized housing, we're accepting the potential market gross rents. The assessor is suggesting a model vacancy rate of 3%. We are using 5%. As you can see, we have 8% vacancy in 2015, 4.2 in 16, climbing up to 4.6. The average from 15 to 17 is 5.6%. So we believe that a prudent purchaser would capitalize the vacancy of this asset into a perpetuity at 5%. That seems reasonable. And that's now we recognize that there's going to be times when there's high vacancy, sometimes there'll be low vacancy. This is a way of stabilizing that over the effective life of the asset. When we get to our effective gross income, we haven't picked up anything from the effective gross rent by way of laundry, parking, or miscellaneous, so we're at $418,774. The assessor is at $427,591, and we're actually bang on with our expenses. Our expense ratio is 55.5%, and we are not in dispute with the city at that number. And that is how the market would generally look at these assets. 50% would be a reasonable baseline. This is not an older building, but it is social housing, so it should have an adjustment. 55.5 is appropriate. The NOI that we're using is $186,220. The city's not far off with $194,449. So again, the biggest point of contention that we have here is that we believe a 6 1/4 cap is appropriate. The city's using 5%. So their 5% is leading them to $3.8 million, and we are suggesting that a 6.25 cap is more appropriate given the age of the asset, as well as the fact that it's a social housing asset. So the resulting indicated market value is $2,980,000, and we request that the assessment for the 2020 realty cycle be amended to reflect the market reality of this asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Story?
Yes. Have you inspected this property?
I've not been inside it, I've been outside it.
What kind of condition is the outside in?
I would say average. I wouldn't say that it's poor. It seems the location is not desirable. It's in an industrial zone. If you look at this photo of Logan facing west, I think we probably all know this building. This is a boarded up warehouse that's been boarded up for as long as I can remember. It's not a desirable neighborhood, I would suggest. And if this asset were to attempt to compete on the free and open market, it would have to be likely be a value proposition. You'd have a depressed rent in here in order to induce people in this area.
And then just on your breakdown here.
Yeah.
Line 23, you've got 15% of effective gross income. 15% of the effective gross income as a ratio for the utilities. Would you agree that that's normal?
I'm sorry, you're looking at
Yeah, so.
subtotal for the utilities?
Yeah, so then you have a stabilized here, and it's 15%.
Well, these are the
effective
actual
growth.
utility bills, right?
Yeah, and is 15%, would you agree that it's normal?
This is, we're not modeling, we're using the actuals. These are taken straight from the utility bills, right? So we're using,
Yeah, but typically, would you agree, it's
are
typically
you
around
suggesting that this building's
15%?
inefficient?
No, in fact, I think that's normal.
Okay, I'm telling you that these are the actual, these are right from the statements that we've included, so.
Okay. I'm just asking if 15% is normal for effective gross income for utilities.
I think that it's normal for this building, I
Yeah.
think that's what they are, so.
Okay, those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Whitworth.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Nisbet?
Nope, nothing.
I have no questions either. Thank you. Okay, the next matter is 860 Winnipeg Avenue.
Okay. 860 Winnipeg. This is file number 19-2042. Roll number 13060277100. Assessed value $709,000. It's an apartment 1913, no effective year built on it. Last time it was at 547, and it got cut to 525 using our net operating income in a 6.25 cap. You see that I made a recommendation. I actually made an error in doing this recommendation. I used the wrong cap rate. On page 3, you'll see I used a 6% cap rate, when in reality on page 4 you'll see that it was modeled with a 6.6% cap rate. So I'm revising that, using that amended NOI. 38,907, 50 cents for the 6.6, generates a rounded recommendation of 590,000. And so basically I looked at the income and expenses on the property and saw that there was a significant difference between what the model was putting out and what they were reporting. So I felt it necessary using, you'll see I use 1,500 a unit for R&M, not the 2,100 per unit, as a more stabilized amount, to bring it to 590. Seems to be much more in line than the 710 and my mistaken recommendation. So 590 is what I've lowered it to. The rent columns are on page 5 here. So there's properties in the area. This one is a for-profit, so didn't use the CMAC. I just used their actual income. So located just north of Notre Dame, between Arlington and Tecumseh, kind of tucked behind the 7-Eleven near the Burton Cummings Community Center. If you're familiar with that area at all, that's where that is. On page 13, you can see a picture of the place. And as you can adjust, just take it from Google Street View. No recent inspections on this property. So I looked at the actuals. Their actual R&M is a lot higher than what we typically see. So I use 1,500 a unit. That's more reasonable and typical for a property to operate at. So my rounded recommendation, using their actuals in a 1,500 per unit RM, which would generate a 66% expense ratio, quite high, but it is an old building. Comes up to $590,000. That's my honest thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Story?
So you're 590, and I would 519.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to proceed, but I won't belabor. I just want to, there are some issues with this building.
Okay, so
So I'm not accepting the record.
you're not accepting the record.
Yeah.
Okay, so then do you have questions or?
No questions. I'll see it from my presentation.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread?
No questions.
Ms. Nesbitt? No. Okay, then please proceed
Okay.
with your presentation.
And I do thank the assessor for taking a closer look at this and making that adjustment. So now, just so we're aware, I don't want to be too long-winded about this, but we're looking at your amended NOI is 38,907. So it's 39, and I'm at 34,000, and that's based on an expense ratio of 70%. You're at 66%. It does make a material difference in terms of the overall assessment. Now, this building has had some trouble in the past. We have a long history of extremely high R&M. We've got extremely high turnover. We've got gang activity in the area. The quality of tenancy has been a chronic problem. We've had extremely high damages. We've had damage deposits that are not recovered, and then we also have a pretty severe graffiti problem. So we agree with the 6.6 cap, but we do suggest that the NOI, we're very close. Once the city amends theirs to 39, we're at 34. So we would suggest a value of $519,000, and that's based on the real NOI, and that does help to capture some of these site-specific problems with this property. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Whitbread?
No questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
Nope, no questions.
Nor do I. Thank you. The next matter, is 60 Francis Street.
All right, 60 Francis Street. Okay, file number 19-2241, 60 Francis Street, roll number 13060094000. Owner, again, WHRC. It's an apartment north of Notre Dame between Gertie and Ellen. 4 stories, 1912. It's got a 1961 effective year built on it. 39 suites, 16 outdoor parking spots. So, construction class C masonry bearing walls. I made a recommendation on this property to lower it to $2,201,000. Last time around, it was reduced from $2,435,000 to $2,130,000, and it was capped at 6%.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
It was reduced from $2,435,000 to $2,130,000, and they used a 6% cap on it. So, recommendation, $2,201,000 on this property. So, if you go to actually go to page 4, not page 3. I was able to have time to take a closer look at this one and try and look at the expenses of it. So I looked at the actual expenses and removed depreciation, mortgage interest, excess subsidy, replacement reserve, and interest to try and get an idea of how the modeled expenses were comparing to what they were actually reporting. So you can see in yellow, 206,043. 2 of the 3 years are higher than that. So what I did is I just, on the bottom right table, you see the 3-year average is 218, the model expenses 206,43, you know, just over 5%. So using the 5.3 cap, I just took the average and used it against the modeled income, which the applicant and I are agreeing on, to come up with an amended value of $2,201,000 on this one. On page 5, the rents, effective gross income, which we agree with. There's some rent comparables, and there's the chart from CMAC. And the last page shows a picture of the property, again from Google Street View at the back. So my recommendation, $2,201,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the recommendation. The only issue is that we can't accept a 5.3 cap on this asset, so no questions.
And you're not accepting that?
I prefer to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. No questions then? Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
I'm fine, thank you.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
Okay, nor do I, so please proceed with your presentation.
So, again, we're very close. We're within $65,000 each other, but again, the model doesn't capture the fact that this is the West Alexandra area, nor does it capture the fact that this is social housing, correct?
No.
Okay. And do you have any?
We just asked you if you had any questions, and you said no, you're going to proceed with your
sorry.
presentation. So.
That's right. Okay. That's right. Getting ahead and behind the all right. So, again, just to not belabor this, we believe that this asset on 60 Francis Street, which is a Winnipeg housing rehabilitation asset, ought to have a premium. The cap rate, the assessment department is using 5.3. We're saying that if it were an asset was performing in the free and open market, it ought to have 5.75 with a 50 basis point adjustment for housing and Winnipeg housing rehabilitation. So the only issue that we're contending here is the cap rate. The assessor has been offering here $2.2 million. We're suggesting $2,136,000, and that's largely based on a 6.25 cap rate. That's the only point that we're contesting. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Have you inspected this property?
I've not been inside of it, so.
Have you inspected any of them, just to get that out of the
The
way?
interiors? No, we don't have to go to
Okay.
apartments.
Would some of them, would it make sense that some are in better condition than others?
That some would be in better condition than others, yeah. But I think that we should, and we baseline that 50 basis point adjustment. And that's, I mean, the issue here is that we're doing a site-specific analysis of these assets, trying to figure out what a prudent purchaser would, how they would view them if they were to market them on the free and open market. Again, they're under limited dividend agreements. So that means that and that's an agreement that runs with the property. It doesn't run with the owner. So you have to adjust your cap rate. If the cap rate is the numerical expression of risk, and if we can best describe it as a feeling of confidence or uneasiness to an investor, that would make me feel very uneasy if I knew that for a period of time this asset has a mortgage that's underwritten by a corporation that's going to force me to depress the rents for a period of time. So that's an issue. The fact that these assets don't ever generate any economic profit. Is a huge issue. There's no reserve stabilization for the most part. We have deferred maintenance. So yes, some are in better shape than others, but in general, it's appropriate to use a 50 basis point adjustment to capture the fact that these assets are used for social housing. That's our position.
Those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Whitford.
I'm referencing a chart you included in your evidence. I just need to confirm whether you have it here on cap rates. There's a cute little chart that laid out per year. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And by your own evidence, you're suggesting a facility 1960 to 74 would be 6.0%, yet you use 6.25%, which would bring you below the city's value, but if we used your 6.0, it would actually take you slightly above the city's recommendation.
I'm sorry, if we use the 6.0, we're using...
You're using 6.5.
Or 6.25 we're using. Right? So that's, so we are reflecting that, I suppose we're agreeing that there's some variance there. So we're using 5.75 as a baseline, and then adjusting 50 basis points. So I give us 6.25.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing any variation from 1960 to 79. You're saying 6% on page 5 of your evidence.
Page 5, yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at all these age categories of locations, 68, 79, 6%.
Right. And we're saying that yes, this building had work done to it to be it's likely in better shape than a 60 to 79. So we're bracketing it between the 80 to 97. That would be why, and then applying our 5% or 50 basis points.
No further questions?
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions?
Nor do I. The next matter is 550 Ellis Avenue.
File number 19-3497. Roll number 13050689000 Ellis Avenue. Assessed value $1,255,000. Last go around, it was $1,211,000, and it wasn't until the cap rate on that one was 6%. So in 1928, we don't have an effective age on it or anything like that. 29 suites, 9 outdoor parking spots. Ellis between Furby and McMicken. So I made a recommendation to reduce the assessments, $1,115,000. Page 3, details. So I looked at the actuals on this one, basically using a 3-year stabilization. I was able to do that. It's for profit, so it's applicable with the calculation as it is. Using our 6.6% cap rate, net operating income of $73,428. We were at $82,814. That's I feel the difference between those two numbers is significant enough to make an adjustment based on the size of the property. We're pretty much within $1,000 on NOI now. So it's the only cap rate issue on this one. So page 4, There's a workup. 7 bachelors, 19 one-bedrooms, 3 two-bedrooms for 29 total units. Model parameters, 6.6 cap, as per each area and size. Rent comparables. I just use the actual to come up with my recommendation of $1,113,000. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of this property, but you can find the mailers on page 8 until the end of the brief. So we're pretty close on this one. The $1,113,000 is actually a little bit lower than 2018. We have a higher deficit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I don't know who will accept that.
You will accept the, okay. Let me just make a note of that. Applicant accepting rec, and I believe we will celebrate with a short recess. Thank you. Sorry, I should ask if maybe
No
panel members
questions.
have questions.
No questions.
Not now.
I asked President and then
Okay. I'm calling this meeting back to order. The next matter on the docket is 647 Sherbrooke Street. Please proceed when you are ready.
Okay. File number 19-2778, 647 Sherbrooke Street, roll number 13050355000. Westminster Housing Society. Assessed value 2020 for the April 1st, 2000, or rather, roll your 2020, April 1st, 2018, reference date assessed value 380,000. Last go around, it was 434,000, and I made a rec on it. The last page of my brief, page 33, that was accepted by the applicant. Altus 340. 380 this time. Actual year built 1907, effective year built 1974. This property, it was a house that was converted. See on page 32, the second last page of my brief, for $140,000 declared construction value in July of 2013. Interior alteration, change of use from rooming house to create 5 new suites. So that's where the effective age comes from. I also have pictures beginning on page 24, giving you an idea what this place looks like. These pictures were taken back in 2014. See MLS pictures here. So just to get you an idea of what the interior looks like, it's no longer 1907. There's some work that's been done to it to bring it to its current condition. So, in regards to this one, we have a slight difference in regards to expenses. Our effective gross income is virtually the same. I think we're $300 less. So I'm not going to dwell on the income. We have page 2. the subject, it's in good hand in the mailer, subject sale, 120,000 on this property, February 2013. And then the permit was taken out July of 2013. So the asset they purchased was not what the pictures are showing. They fixed it up after. So average monthly rent we're agreeing on is $675 per suite. 3 1-bedroom, 2 2-bedroom. Long parameters, it gets a 4.8 based on age, area, size for $380,000 on this property. We're pretty close to what we were last go around. The rec was accepted at 340. 380 seems reasonable. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions for the assessor?
I do, yeah. So this is primarily a cap rate issue for the most part. Okay, so this is social housing in the Wolseley, West Broadway area?
Yeah, it's just north of Sargent. I think it's about, I don't know, 5-minute walk to the U of M.
Yep.
Do you have W, Brendan?
UW, yeah. And this used to be a rooming house?
That's what it says here, page 32. To change of use from rooming house to create 5 new suites. So the way I read that is it used to be a rooming house.
Okay, that's fine. And then on page 2, sort of interesting, you've got the sales history. Now this thing has changed hands 4 times between 2002 and 2013?
That's what it indicates here, yeah.
Would that be typical in your experience?
No, I didn't put any weight on this sales because it was fixed up after, so I didn't put any consideration on it.
Okay. All right, and now that cap rate of 4.8, does that not seem aggressively low for a former rooming house in this part of town?
I mean, there's almost like another effect to it being, the value being so small, is that if we're agreeing that we can get $675 per unit for 5 units on a fixed up place that's near the University of Winnipeg, I think it would actually be an attractive investment at a price where people could get in the door.
So you think it would be an attractive investment to a sort of a non-institutional purchaser who wants to buy an income property?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Okay. But you do recognize that the expenses would be extremely high, so you'd probably be north of 55%. Is that, you probably agree with that?
Yeah, we were around there where we have 53. It's, I mean, it is all done up looking at the picture, but it's got older bones, yeah, fair enough. Looks like they got some new hot water tanks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So in the past, the city has used, so for example, let's think about like commercial row houses. The city has used a 6% cap rate across the board for self-contained units with adjoining walls. Is this almost more, I noticed those 5 hot water tanks, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Are all of these units completely self-contained?
I haven't inspected this property.
So there's no, like with a rooming house, you would have a suite and then communal bathrooms and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
These all have separate bathrooms, kitchens.
The way I read it here on page 32, because I haven't inspected it.
Right.
It's changed from a rooming house to create 5 new suites. So the way I read it, it's more traditional apartment suites with kitchens and bathrooms.
Right, so they're self-contained.
Yes, I believe so, but I haven't
Okay,
inspected.
do you think that would, for an investor, do you think that would be equate to more risk or less risk if each one has their own, there's no agglomeration of HVAC or hot water tanks? Presumably there's one furnace, they don't each have their own furnace like a row house, but if they're self-contained, does that make it more or less attractive, do you suppose?
I think they could get more rents for self-contained units.
Okay. And just a point here on the, when we have a permit with a declared construction value, that's an estimate, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not, there's nothing that would substantiate or that would qualify the $140,000. That's what the contractor estimated.
Yeah, it's not a cost report or anything like that.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread.
Oh, fine, thanks.
Ms. Nesbitt.
No questions.
Just wondering why there would be 6 hot water tanks, 5 units.
There may be some communal space on the main floor or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's really neither here nor there. Okay, I have no actual questions then. Please proceed.
Okay, so this is an asset of the Westminster Housing Society. So it's a social housing again, 647 Sherbrooke. And we have 2 stories. It's actually an old 2.5-story home built in and around the 1920s, 1928 actually. We have 5 suites, and it has been converted from a rooming. I guess initially it was a private home, single family detached, then it was a rooming house, and now it's a, what we're calling an apartment, but it would not be a typical apartment. 5 suites. The city is suggesting a value of $380,000. We're suggesting that a value of $228,000 is more appropriate. Right. So we're in the Spence neighborhood, 600 block of Sherbrooke, between Sargent and Cumberland. Now for the purposes of this report, we're disputing the assessor's cap rate of 4.8%. I think that's aggressively low. We're using a rate of 7% based on our study. So pre-1946, we have a 6.25 to 6.6 range. So we're using 6.5 and then adding our 50 basis points to capture the realities of social housing. Now I know that there was permitted work done here, but it appears that that would be more to alter the interior and redemise the space as opposed to extend the useful economic life by working on the building's envelope or the foundation or anything like that. So in terms of the effective age, it appears to be from 1928. So we are proceeding as though the cap rate ought to be 6.5 with an adjustment for social housing 50 basis points. Now again, we're social housing, so we're accepting the potential gross market rents. The city is using a vacancy rate of 2.6%. We're slightly higher. We think that 2.6% is a reasonable rate to capitalize into perpetuity for the purposes of this exercise. Our effective gross income is effectively bang on. Where we start to diverge is on the expenses. We're using actuals that indicate a rate of 59.9%. The city's modeling 53.9%. And again, we're pretty far apart on the cap rate. We're using 7%, the city's using 4.8%. And then you capitalize our net operating income of $15,965, the 7% cap. We see an indicated market value of $228,070. So we respectfully submit that the value ought not to exceed $228,000. I've got some photos of the subject. Let's see what it looks like. And also some of the surrounding. Now these are all houses of the same vintage. I know we're not comparing assessments, but just to give you a sense that this one does kind of stand out. And then I do have some photos of the interior. This is post turning it into we'll call it an apartment, but suggests it's not a typical apartment, though it does have, it's no longer a rooming house. So again, we would suggest that the value ought to be 228. $228,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions?
Yeah. So, would you agree that this property is dissimilar to the properties in your cap rate study?
I think they're dissimilar to both of the cap rate studies, to be certain.
Okay. So you've got it. You've got a 7% cap because you don't feel that, based on the work that's been done to it, that can be seen in the pictures that is more true to 1907?
I would say the bones of this building are, I think 1928 is what we're saying, isn't it? It's a 1928 build.
Okay, so just going back to the
It's
overall.
also, it's also wood frame construction in the 1920s. Now, going in and putting up drywall to redemise the space doesn't extend the effective useful life, and that's what an age variance should be representing. So decorating or remodeling an interior might help you subtend your effective gross income, but I don't think it's going to extend the useful life of the building, nor do I think it's going to reduce your expenses going forward. This is an older building, stick frame construction from the 1920s. So in terms of adjusting the age in a way that significantly impacts the value seems inappropriate to me.
Just the overall value here, $228,000. Might it be for an investment like this, with your suggested value being so low that it would allow potential purchasers to get in the door that wouldn't be able to afford?
And do you think that equates to more risk or less risk?
I think
that's more risky. There's a lot of people who try and purchase an investment property like this, and they don't realize that their expenses are going to be 60%. They don't realize that they're going to have issues with vacancy, with collection loss. They have to go there every month and collect rent from these 5 suites. So I would suggest that institutional investors carry a great deal less risk. This is a far riskier proposition than a REIT or an institutional investor buying a traditional apartment building. Would you not say?
Well, he's asking the questions, not you.
So, I'm just saying, like, if we're agreeing that, I mean, if you buy the place, hypothetically,
Right.
and you got 4 suites, because you wasn't in the other one, 6 times,
So we're going to
4
buy
times 6, hang on, I'm not done now. 4 times 675. If you're taking in $2,700 a month in the place that you live in, would this not be an attractive kind of idea for someone looking to buy a place?
That's right. So I'm going to live there now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring in how much?
Well, for rent, we're both agreeing, right? $675
Right.
times 4. That's $27 a month.
Okay, and then take half of that away just for expenses, right? And we've got mortgage payments on top of that. So no, that's not attractive, quite frankly.
No?
No.
Oh, well, I guess we disagree.
It's fine.
Is proximity to the University of Winnipeg, is that at all?
There's a lot of competitive rental spaces within proximity to the University of Winnipeg.
And the fact that the rec was accepted at $340 last time, does that maybe give you?
I don't know the details. I didn't accept it. So
Okay, those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whitford?
I'm a little bit confused on the date. The city's telling us 1907, effective date 74. You're telling us 1928. Did I miss something?
yeah, I've got 1928 in my records. So I'm not sure. I have to check that. I don't know if it's 07 or 28. It looks to me like a building from 1928. That's the.
Well,
that's generally
That's a pretty good eye on you.
You look at a lot of houses, and I think that's when most of those houses in that area were built, if I'm not mistaken.
May I redirect to the state?
absolutely.
Where would you draw your 1907 from?
Oh, it would have been from permits and construction information. That was what was in our records. So, 1907.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
Any questions? And I have the same date question, so that was already sort of answered. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next matter is 407 Laneside Street.
Okay. File number 19-2263, item number 13050815500, 407 Langside. Assessed value $1,582,000 for 2020. Last time around, it was $1,482,000. It was confirmed with a 5.25 cap rate. I believe the applicant just asked for confirmation on this one, and then there was no appeal at the meeting with the court. So again, WHRC, we are within $400 worth of net operating income on this property. Langside and Furby, parameters are modeled, page 3, 6 one-bedroom, 9 two-bedroom, 2 3-bedroom, and 1 4-bedroom. 18 units total, 93, no effective age penalty. Parameters are modeled, 5 cap, age and area. We're identical in terms of rents, rent comparable, the CMHC charts, cap rate charts follow. And then at the second last page is just the order showing that the applicant just asked for confirmation. And then there's a picture, page 11, showing the exterior of the property. Not-for-profit use model. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good questions for the assessor.
Okay, so again, social housing on Langside Street, and this is stick frame Class D construction, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You visited this property?
No, I haven't.
No? Do you have any thoughts about the location?
Langside and Furby,
Yeah.
West End area. Well, older homes, older buildings.
And would you say the market sees this as a generally safe location?
I think there's safer locations in the city.
I'm sorry?
There's safer locations in the city.
Not safe.
Well, there's safer locations in the city.
Okay. And do you think that is a factor when an investor is purchasing a property?
Well, are they living in it?
No, but they're part of the cap rate is predicting principal and anticipation, right? So that would be the how we would expect the property to appreciate over time. We would look at the durability of the income stream, and then we would also look at other options. So if we could buy stocks and bonds, we probably wouldn't buy an apartment block in a part of town that is perhaps unsafe. Would you agree with that?
No, I think properties sell all over the place. People buy them, they fix them up. No, there's no evidence that properties don't transact in the West End.
Okay, so you think that a 5% cap rate is appropriate for this property?
That's been assigned by the model by age and area.
Okay, and this again, just for sake of argument, this is all modeled, there are no overrides in this?
Yes.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodruff.
Did I miss something on your page 1, the 2020 realty assessment 1271 and request of assessment 1582? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think I've ever seen
He just made a typo. He just made a typo. I caught that when I was
Oh.
reading. That's not what he's requesting.
Okay.
It'd be nice. Sorry.
Yeah, I've not seen anyone actually ask for that yet.
Right, but we're
I think it's the other way around.
doing
It'd be the other way around.
questions of the assessor.
It's the other way around, that's, I apologize.
It's okay, you're
ahead of myself.
you're well ahead.
Yeah.
It's a good question, though.
You're generous. Darn it. Okay. No, I think I was fine with this property.
Oh, okay.
I have no questions.
I have no questions either for the assessor, so please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, 407 Langside Street, again,
And maybe start with page 1.
Yeah.
okay, page 1, 407 Langside, built in 1993, 9 one-bedroom units, 2 two-bedrooms, 2 three-bedrooms, and 1 four-bedroom unit. The city is is suggesting a value of $1,582,000, and we are requesting a value of $1,271,000. I apologize for the typo. Okay, now, the property is located on the east side of Langside, the northeast corner of Purvey Place and Langside Street intersections. So this is downtown. This is very close to the U of W. The improvement is a two-story structure built in 1993 and is presently being used as a multi-family dwelling for the purposes of as a social housing asset. Okay, so we're using a cap rate of 6.25% and disputing the assessor's cap rate of 5%. Now, a large part of this is, I've alluded to this, that there are some concerns regarding safety. I've included some samples of Winnipeg Police Service media releases regarding commercial break-and-enters, stabbings, homicides, weapons arrests, firearms arrests, aggravated assaults arrests. This is all within this one block of Purvey. And the city's 10th homicide post-reference, but it happened there as well, right across the street. So I'm suggesting that this is not a desirable place to invest. Okay, so if you follow me to my workup, please. We are accepting, again, social housing, so we accept the model's potential market gross rents. But we have, we've used our actual expenses. Now, we're actually very close to the city. We're within $500 or so on the NOI. But again, the city is using a 5% cap rate without recognizing the location or the social housing component. I think we're being very conservative with a 6.25 cap. When we apply that 6.25 to our NOI, which is virtually identical to the assessment departments, we come to an indicated market value of $1,270,996. So we're requesting that this board respectfully amend this assessment to $1,271,000 for the 2020 assessment cycle. Again, I have that in my appendix, so that's the excerpts from the Winnipeg Police Service media releases within the reference date. But I also have some photos. You can see that the property is not in what we would call good condition. Again, objectively lower grade condition. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
No questions.
Mr. Whitbread?
No.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No.
Nor do I. Okay. The next property is 500 Balmoral Street.
Okay. Okay, 500 Balmoral. File number 19-2442. Roll number 130519881100. Owner Pay Up Intertribal Co-op. Property is located. Balmoral, right where Capel Avenue intersects it, not too far from Central Park. Property, Payock Housing Co-op, unique housing concept, members collectively make decisions on the management of the property. Their mission is to, quote, provide a safe, cooperative living environment for Aboriginal families. Payock is for Aboriginal families who wish to live in a drug, alcohol, and violence-free environment. Subsidies, all the rents are subsidized. housing charges are based on income. So, 1989, I don't have an effective year built on this one. 42 suites, 16 outdoor parking. There's also a tax exempt daycare, which is the property on the main floor, which is not under dispute. So I was able to inspect this property. This one's been going through the municipal board process. 12, 14 have been heard. I dealt with them on that one. 16 and 18 are pending still. Last go around, this property was reduced from $3,530,000 to $3,392,000. They used a 5 1/4 cap on it. So when I was talking about the property where there was an expense override put on it, this is the one. If you go to page 3, you'll see that there is an expense override put on this property of 70%. I've inspected this place. If you go to, toss in a whole bunch of pictures on it. Starts on, I believe it's page 16. There's the exterior of it. Now the exterior, pardon me, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. There isn't anything wrong with the exterior. Going to page 19, I was able to get into the daycare, but that's just the daycare area. And then starting on page 22, you see pictures of the interior of the suites. So with this property, there was work going on inside of it to bring the place up. A lot of the suites that I went into, they're pretty beat. They needed to be fixed up, so when tenants left, the workers were in there fixing it up. You can see by the pictures that, for instance, page 25 shows the replacement of the countertop. It's just very basic vinyl flooring on the inside, and the expenses, they are on an ongoing basis with this property, so it is appropriate. That's why we put a 70% expense override on it. Having inspected it, we are agreeing on income, slightly off on expenses, which we, I think, at least 75, but that's where we got the 70 from. So, I mean, I could verbally give you what the appeals history has been, because we've been settling these ones, or I have made a chart with all this information on it. I was informed by a panel member last week that orders aren't new evidence and they can be brought up at any time. So I can verbally give it to you, or I can let you know what's going on, what cap rates been used, because we are adjusting at the municipal board downwards, just to give you guys an idea of what's going on with this property, because we are trying to clean it up.
Okay.
So is that something you'd be fine with?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So here are, there's 4 copies here. So you'll see, beginning in 2012, it was confirmed. Then it was reduced via negotiation at the municipal board to $1.4 million, using a 6 1/4 cap. It was confirmed 2014, and then at the municipal board, it was reduced by negotiation with Altus to $1,846,000, using a 6% cap. That was following inspection of the property, because it is quite a difference to what was confirmed at the Board of Revision and what we reduced it to. However, this property doesn't behave as typically as a normal property, hence the 78% expense ratio. So 16 and 18 are still up. There's the caps that were used on the Board of Revision decisions. So what we have today is we've got $3,083,000 with a 5 cap. In my opinion, that's too low.
It's too low.
I would say the cap rate on this property is too low, and we would likely adjust that during negotiation at the municipal board. I'd say probably.
Why wouldn't you have done it
Or we
now
just agree to 1.8.
Yeah.
We just agree to 1.8
hopefully
right now.
prevent going to the municipal board?
Yeah, well, they tend to appeal whatever they get and just push it further. So, I mean, we've got $1,004,000 in 2012, and then it went up $400,000 for 2014. So we've got 2 years in between. So currently we're at $3,083,000. If we went with a 5.5 cap on this property, that's 127, 242. That would be on the taxable end, 2,313,000, rounded. So 2,313,000 rounded, using a 5.5 cap. And then what would be added to it would be the 538 to come up with 2,851,000 total. So on the taxable, I'm going to recommend 2,313,000 using the 5.5, because I've inspected the place, and there's a lot of issues going on the side of it. So that's my recommendation on this property. And again, adjusting the cap rate, we've got a 70% expense ratio on it. There's some, however, it's not that they're not spending money on it. If you go to page 13, you will see that there's a permit for $437,000 for construction value, $683 for some mechanical work. Page 14, they're removing some concrete pads with electrical equipment, fence, equipment, structural, mechanical for $90,000. This is all 2018. Page 15, $678,000 to replace the exterior windows and doors on the property. So they are doing work to it, but, I mean, it's almost like, some of the pictures don't even do it justice. So I believe in this unique instance, cap rate should be adjusted up. So, again, my rec, for total value, $2,851,000. And for the taxable portion of the apartment, $2,313,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Story, are you prepared to accept it?
No.
No. Okay, so please proceed with your questions for this.
First question, okay, so do you have any photos at the front of this building?
The front of it?
Yeah.
Not in my brief.
Okay, so these are all photos of the rear part of the building?
Yeah, I mean, I took so many pictures, there's only so many I was going to...
Okay, that's fine. Now, you've got permits in here, and they're all post-reference, is that correct?
We're looking at the current condition, though.
Okay, these are all post-reference?
It's the current condition.
Okay, so that's a yes. Now, you're aware that a car hit the daycare? Car ran
No.
into the daycare? No?
No.
So I just wonder which of these permits would be for that
I
repair?
was not aware about the car.
It was in the news. But that wouldn't have value, would it?
No, not if the car hit it.
Right. Fixing maintenance that was deferred doesn't necessarily.
Well, no,
have
if you're
value,
just
does it?
repairing it back to its original
Right.
state, then no.
Does this building have air conditioning?
I don't remember there being air conditioning.
Okay. Would you say that these are low-grade finishings based on your photos?
Definitely.
Definitely. Then you got one, page 27, there's a bucket in the sink. Is that,
Yeah, they're doing the renos. They're renovating a bunch of them, but not renovating. I would say they're more repairing them back to basic standards.
okay, and then page 35 and 36, that would be like a common room, is that what that is?
Let's see. Yeah, that's a common room. I believe that's in the basement.
Okay, now this is the corner of Capel and Balmoral, so it's right across from Sister McNamara's school, correct?
Let me check your map. I'll take your word for it.
It is. Now, the reason I ask is because once we get into Central Park, we have an adjustment on the cap rate, an upward adjustment, correct?
No, that's Market Region 4 that gets an adjustment, not
Central Park doesn't get an
No.
adjustment? I don't have the impression that they did, but that's fine. Now, you recognize there's a daycare in this building.
Yeah.
Now, you've got it classified as retail here, which is fine. I understand that that's institutional, but that has an 8.5 cap, and then the apartment section has a 5% cap. Is that typical to see a gap between those two income streams in terms of how we analyze their risk?
Yeah, there's different cap rates assigned to commercial sections than the
Does that
residential.
seem high compared to the residential?
I'm not as well acquainted. I understand that section is not
Okay,
condition.
that's fine. Okay, I can get some notes here. So that's okay. We're not fighting with the daycare. Okay. Oh, and this is so you mentioned earlier, these rents are subsidized, correct?
Yes.
And it's a co-op, correct?
Yes.
And it's built as a co-op?
I don't know if it was built as a co-op, but it is a co-op.
Did you go around the front of the building at all?
Yeah, I walked around it.
There's a plaque there. It's the first indigenous co-op in downtown Winnipeg. Now, do you think a co-op ought to have a higher cap rate because decisions are made by committee as opposed to a professional management?
The cap is just assigned by age, area, and size.
Thanks.
Sorry, we're just trying to see if we can get them to keep it down.
We want to be in that way, it sounds like it's not
Pardon?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, here.
Oh, no, those are my questions.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Mr. Woodruff?
No, no questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No, no questions.
Nor do I, so please proceed with your presentation.
This is the Payette Intertribal Co-op. It's at 500 Balmoral Street. And again, that's right at the corner of Capel and Balmoral, across the street from Sister McNamara's School. building was built in 1970. So he's saying there's an effective age of 1989. It was built in 1970. The city is suggesting, now we're just looking at the residential component as opposed to the residential and retail or whatever. It was changed last cycle to be institutional, so it's exempt, so we're fine with that. Now, for the realty portion of this assessment, the city is suggesting $2,545,000. We're suggesting $1,767,000. Okay. And again, this is a co-op, so it's social housing, subsidized rents, and it's run by committee, so it's a co-op. So it's slightly different than even some of the social housing assets that we've been looking at today. The assessor is using a cap rate of 5%. It is now suggested that 5.5 is more appropriate. We're simply requesting a cap rate of 6% be applied. Okay, so if you go to my income workup, you can see that we are accepting everything up to the effective gross income based on the fact that our rents are heavily subsidized. So we are accepting the model in general, but we are applying our own expenses. Now, our expenses are north of 70%, so we have capped them at 70%, and the assessment department has as well, so that's fine. Where we start to differ is on the net operating income. We're suggesting $106,035. The city is at $127,242, and when we capitalize our net income with a rate of 6%, we come to an indicated market value of $1,767,246, with a rounded value that we're requesting for the 2020 assessment cycle of $1,767,000. Thank you very much.
Okay, just to clarify, that $1,767,000, that's just the residential portion, right? Like
That's correct. That's not the overall, so we're...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the net operating income, you said you capped. So you capped the expenses at 70%. Did you use the 296 or the 318 at 75%?
I think we used the same thing as you, 296, 897, right?
Okay.
But you can see that we're well above 350, 425. So effectively, I suppose what's happening here is when we're going to adjust and override the expense ratio, we should also capture the fact that that would include increased risk to a potential purchaser. So, and I know you've adjusted it by 50 basis points. We're suggesting 100 basis points. And that's the crux of our argument. You're at a 5% cap, we're at 6. I'm suggesting that based on location, ownership, management structure, that this asset ought to have a 6% cap. And actually, that's in line with the 14 municipal board order of $1,846,000, so we're at $1.8 million. That seems reasonable.
So,
yeah.
Just in regard to, so you're using the 296 because I'm just like, it says 318 underneath it.
That's the actual.
So you're using the actual at 75?
No. I'm showing you that the actual is 75, but we're capping it at 70. That's a precedent. We don't tend to go over 75%.
So when I go 424 minus 106, I'm getting...
Where's your 106?
Oh, sorry, 424, 139 minus 318, 104. I get the 106. So just for your calculation, it looks like you used the 75%, not the 70.
No, we have that in there to show you what the actual is, but that we cap it. We have a precedent where we don't tend to go over 75% because an ex-prudent owner would likely not ever factor in 75.
Over 70 or 75?
70 is our highest that we go. So we're both capped at 70.
139 times 0.7. And then 296. The way it calculates, is anyone else doing this too? Okay, just to be clear, if we're using the same income and expenses at 7%, the net operating income is 127. 242. Just maybe run those numbers
Yeah,
again.
let me just see. So you're at 424, 159. One two seven two four two. That's your oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's what I have actually. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So we'll accept your NOI. That's a calculation there.
Okay.
So then all we're arguing about, we're accepting the same NOI of 127,242, and you're saying 5.5 cap, and I'm saying 6%.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whitbread?
No, we're fine.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions?
I just had one about the date again. Mr. Story, you had building age 1970, and Mr. Baracus, you had 1989.
Yes.
Did we actually?
Yeah, I've got a photograph of the plat, and I think it's dated. It appears to be 89. Yeah, that's my mistake.
Okay, and so for that, would that change the cap rate at all?
Did that change our cap rate? It was 89. 89, well, it should actually be, I think it should be 6 1/4 actually, but it's fine. I'll stick with 6.
So just, can I just ask for
No,
comment?
according to my chart, it should be 6 1/4.
Okay, I think we're going to need a mathematical moment. Go ahead.
Okay, so I am just confirming then that your recalculated number using 127,242 NOI
That's correct.
at 6% cap gets me 2,121,000.
That sounds right. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. Plus the exempt portion.
Yeah, the exempt portion is not
Right. Thank you.
And just, sorry, it just, I mean, for 89, your cap says 5 3/4 on your cap rate.
With a 5% or 50 basis point adjustment for social housing.
Oh, okay, okay. I just didn't see that in your work.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
My calculator won't work. Sorry, you're going to have to give me 1 minute because it keeps skipping numbers, and I'm going to throw it through the window. So- Okay. All right. The next matter is 531 Furby Street.
Okay, 531, 19-2245, Rolando 1305066 2000. Again, owner, WHRC, assessed value, 967,000. Last time it was cut from 966 to 810, so this leaves a 6 1/4 cap on
Can you say those numbers again, please?
it. 966, make that to 810, using a 6 1/4 cap. 1913.
So was that at Board of Revision? Or
That was Board of Revision. Okay, so 21 suites, 6 outdoor parking spots, construction class D, water, steel frame walls, 1913, 1961 on the age variant. Again, on this one, identical net operating income, so capitalization rate. Furby between Alice and Sargent. Parameters are modeled. 61% expense ratio. We agree on the operating income, so I'm not going to belabor it. We've talked about cap in its neighborhood. I just sharing already, so this is the exterior picture of the page on page 9, it's not for profit, so we use model. That's my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Story, do you have questions?
Yeah, I do. Okay. You visited this property?
No, I don't.
Any idea of what gave rise to that variation in age?
No.
And stick frame Class D construction?
Yeah, Class D.
Class D. No sales, okay. Now everything on your income value summary is modeled?
Yes.
Did you look at the actual statements and compare them to the model, or did you just accept the model?
I think we had this one down as low as we could in the model.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, when you downgrade the quality in the model, it affects the expense ratio and the potential rents, but it doesn't affect the cap rate, does it?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you think in just out here in the real world that would be counterintuitive, that an investor would also adjust the cap rate if they recognize that their expense rates were going to be north of 60% and that their gross potential rents would be depressed?
I'm not sure what each individual would do in regards to their own calculations. Our caps are just age-rated size.
Age-rated size, right. So again, just to reiterate, no consideration for a limited dividend project, and no consideration for no economic profit, no consideration for social housing.
No, just model.
Okay, that's fine. Now, again, you're lower here than the brokers for investment grade. Does that seem to make sense to you? Brokers wouldn't put this in a sub-6 cap, would they?
I don't know what they would put it at. I know by our model we have it at 5.3.
Do you think if we're using actuals, we start to get into a question of land value on this asset particularly? Are we starting to approach a question of highest and best use, in your opinion?
No.
Okay. General questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread.
No, nothing, thanks.
Ms. Nesbitt.
No.
I have no questions either, so please proceed.
Thank you very much. Okay, 531 Kirby Street. It's been built in 1912 and 1913. It's 3.5 stories, 13 one-bedroom suites, 7 two-bedrooms. The city is suggesting $967 for the income in place at April 1, 2018. We were suggesting that $820,000 is more appropriate. So the subject is located on the east side of Kirby between Sargent and Ellis. The improvement is a 3.5-story structure built in 1912. The city is suggesting an effective age of 1961. It's presently being used as a multifamily residential building for the purposes of social housing. The site size, according to the city of Winnipeg, is 9,801 square feet, and it's zoned R2. Again, 20 units, 13 one-bedrooms, 7 two-bedrooms. Now, the city is using a cap rate of 5.3%. We are instead using a cap rate of 6.25%. Okay. I don't think it's actually conservative, but that's what we would apply. So we have used the potential gross market rents, again, social housing, so we're relying on the city and their model to see what the potential gross market rents are. For these, the repairs and maintenance were very high, showing us that, again, I mentioned I mentioned the point about highest and best use because our repairs and maintenance are so high in this asset that we'd effectively have to just kind of model them, and that would not be how somebody would approach this asset. But for the sake of this assignment, we've used 61.4, which is what the city's used. So the only material difference here is that the city's using a 5.3 cap, and we're using 6.25, giving us an indicated market value of $820,000. And again, that's based on a 6.25 cap versus a 5.3. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brockton.
No questions.
Mr. Whitbread?
No question.
Ms. Nesbit?
No question?
Okay, Nordhook? Next matter, 182 Colony Street. Please proceed when you are ready.
Let me look this one over quick.
Take your time.
Just water.
Okay, 19-2169, roll number 12091600000, 182 Colony Street, assessed value 996,000. Colony just north of Broadway, just west of Falls Point. 1929, no effective year built on it, 29 suites, no parking. Construction class C masonry, bearing walls. Last time around, it was confirmed with the Board of Revision at $1,040,000, and they used a 6% cap rate on it. So we have our modeled parameters here on page 3. We've got 3 bachelors, 19 one-bedrooms, 7 two-bedrooms, 29 total units. Our rent's pretty low on this one. We only have a gross floor area per unit of 681 square feet, and that would include, there's some, obviously some common area as well too with this one. So that is taken into consideration, which is why we have our model rent so low, capped at 6.6%. We agree on that. We've got our comparables on page 4. So we've also got our CMHC rents on the table below. Average rent $746.59. Our average monthly rent is almost $250 less. So we have our mailers on page 7 towards the end of it. So with this property, we're about 4,000 apart on net operating income. So we're pretty close in that regard. It was all modeled. I haven't had a chance to inspect this property or anything like that. So it's less than it was in 2018. It's got a 0.61 cap. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Story, do you have questions for the assessor?
Are you familiar with this stretch of Colony Street?
I haven't been down there in a while.
Okay. This is right across from the Gapway table, right?
I haven't been down there in a while.
It's just interesting because every weekday they feed 300 people and they line up. And this is directly across the street, just so we know where we are. And that's part of All Saints Anglican Church. It's basically Colony and Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Now, the average monthly rent, you're modeling at 502, it's actually 489. Did you check the financials or just go with the model?
I just went with the model, but I mean,
We're not
looking
too
at
far.
yours, I'd be fine with your effective gross income.
You'd be fine with my effective gross income?
Yeah, the way you've done it, I'm fine with
So then, and we're not too far apart. You're at 995.9, I'm at 927. So, and we agree on the cap, it should be 6.6 on this building.
that. That's what we've modeled it, yeah.
Yeah, and that seems reasonable to us. So really, we're only arguing the expenses, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're
2%.
pretty close in regards to net operating income, so I didn't make a change. I'm fine with your effective gross income.
Okay. That you're disputing our net operating income.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close, we're just trying to come to a conclusion on this one. But yeah, I don't see anything really wrong with your breakdown.
Okay. Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whitbread.
No questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
Nor do I, so please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, 182 Colony Street. Again, we are very close to the corner of Colony and Broadway, right close to All Saints Anglican. It's in the West Broadway area, 3.5-story structure, built in 29, being used as a multi-family residential building. This one is not social housing. This is competing on the free and open market. The city assessor is suggesting a value of $996,000. We are requesting $927,000, and that is based, as we've established, on a small gap between the actuals and the model in terms of our expense ratio. The city is suggesting 61.4, again based on the model. We're suggesting 63.5 based on actuals. So for the sake of brevity, we are asking for 927. The city's at 996, and again, that is based on a discrepancy between the modeling and the actual financials. So we request that this assessment be amended to $927,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brock.
No questions.
No? Okay. Mr. Whitbread?
No questions.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
Nor do I. Okay, thank you very much. I will now close this hearing. Thank you.